It is time for the Skits Fun House! Yo, everybody! Hello, hello, hello. Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Are you out there? Did you hear that? Did you hear me? Just drop it down. I just had to get it out of me. Just got a lot of tension. Just had to get that tension out. So, how's everyone doing? It's been a week. I think it's been about a week or so since I've been on here. Last person was Mog Park. Go check her out. It was a really cool interview with Mog. Just a lot of fun. Today we got Aaron Lopresti. Aaron Lopresti is going to be stopping in a few minutes. He'll be here at the top of the hour at 5 o'clock. But for right now, I got you, and I'm just going to strangle, just get you in here and kind of thrash things around a little bit. So I just showed you, we got the Skits campaign that's going to be coming up super soon. That's the prequel, Skits prequel to Skits the Sun Book 1. So go on over there, sign up, you get a $5 discount. Actually, I probably should just show it while I'm doing this. Why ain't I just showing it? So yeah, you get the $5 discount. Why ain't put this away? There we go. So we showed the video, $5 discount for if you sign up. We got a bunch of people already signed up for it. Go on over there, check it out. That'll be cool. Got to get over there on that. That'll be lots of fun. Just want to say hello to some of the people before we get started in the chat. Who we got here? Who we got? Yep. We had Leg Kick One saying, hey, Leg Kick One. Appreciate you for stopping by. We got Devil Flyer, Rex Christian. All right, Devil Flyer, I appreciate you for being here. Devil Flyer. Always have problems with names. I just kind of got to get in there and, Black Star, she's always in there. I appreciate you for being here, baby. That's really awesome for you being here. Always helps out. We got Mandible Smasher. Thank you, Mandible Smasher. What's going on, man? I appreciate you for stopping by. It's going to be fun today. I'm trying, here's the thing. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Here's how it is. Me, my wife, and my wife's mom, we do a little Bible reading every Thursday night. Last Thursday night, my wife's mom, Mary, she said, hey, what are you doing on the Skits Funhouse? It didn't seem so fun. And I was like, it ain't fun. Like, So I guess I got to kind of just hulk it out and get more into it and more, more excitement. It's not fun. And I was like, oh my gosh. How can I have a fun house and it's not fun? I will tear my hair out. But insane Hulk out. I know, it's just, you got to do that tension break. I tell you what, it's getting hot in here, actually. Let me turn the heater off. I usually do that before I get started, turn that heater off. It's just, it's getting hot. Oh, yeah. Go over to the website, everybody. This is something that I wanted to speak on a little bit. So when I first start this show, what I do is I go through all the stuff like, oh, here's the website, here's this for sale, here's that for sale. And it's like, do people really want to see that sort of stuff? Do people actually want to be like, hey, what's your website like? What you selling? What's going on? It's like, if I was to go to someone's show and they started out with like, here's my website, here's my campaign, I've got something here. It's like, would I want to actually watch that? I'm just thinking, maybe not. But I mean, at the same time, you got to put your stuff out there. You got to try and sell it. You got to get people interested in it. So I don't know. That's something that I'm always torn in between. But anyway, go over to the Skits comic website. Maybe I'll show it a little bit later. We'll get over there and see what's going on and stuff like that. That'll be cool. Flame on. Flame on. Yes. That's right. So sometimes I feel like Carrot Top. You ever watch Carrot Top? He's just kind of crazy. He's got all these little devices and props and stuff like that. So it's like, as an artist, as a fine artist, I'm more of a fine artist. I'm just now starting to get into comic books and doing that sort of thing. But as a fine artist, I collect all sorts of junk. I just got junk. I got stuff. I feel like Carrot Top sometimes. I just got stuff. I gotta pull it out. I gotta show it to people. I gotta work on it. It's like I have stuff that I've been pulling around with me for 20, 30 years. It's like, man, why do I keep carrying all this stuff around with me? Well, like the stuff that I got going on right now, and I could probably just start roaming around the studio and grabbing stuff. Say, oh yeah, I've been carrying this for 20 years. Why do I have this here? But someday I might actually do something with it. So that's something that you just got to keep back there and do. So let me just, the thing that I've been carrying on right now, something that I've been having my wife help me out with, is I've been saving Doot-to-Doots. Everyone, do we know what a Doot-to-Doot is? This is a Doot-to-Doot. This is what comes with your paper towels, your toilet paper rolls and stuff like that. I've been saving a ton of these. I got toilet paper ones. I got big paper towel ones like this one right here. And the reason why it's called a Doot-to-Doot, that's why it's called a Doot-to-Doot. You know, when you're a kid, you just kind of grab it and you're like, and you know, it's fun, you know, so that's what that's called. That right there is a Doot-to-Doot. But I've been collecting a ton of them. So what the reason why is I was actually thinking of turning them all into puppets. You know, it's like you get some puppets on there and actually start of all the Skits characters and do like a little puppet show or something like that. Put up a stage. I mean, is that something that people really are interested in? I mean, you people got to tell me, you know, but I got like a ton of these things. Like, look at this. Look at this. I got Doot-to-Doots coming. I got Doot-to-Doots. Just tons of Doot-to-Doots. So anyway, we're going to get those. We're going to do something with them. I got them over there for right now. So we'll Doot-to-Doot. All right. They're okay for now. But I got tons of Doot-to-Doots. Let's see. We got some other people here. Let me just say hello to some people here. Wait a minute. You got to promote. Talk about the Pork Chop Express. I know. I am promoting the Pork Chop Express trucking company with Jack Burton Trucking right there. Where is he at? Visalia, California. So yeah, you know, you gotta pimp them out. I mean, it's just awesome, right? Yeah. All right, we got Burst Film. Oh, okay, saying hey to Burst Film. Retweet the show card. Get some new. I'm telling you, man, it's like I put it out there and I get like two likes or something like that. I got to tell you, like the last few weeks, I think something's happening to the Twitter, you know, my Twitter page or something like that. I used to put stuff out and it'd be like 50, 60 likes or something like that. Now it's like I'm getting 2 or 3 likes. It's like, what's going on Twitter? I have no idea. There's something weird going on Twitter, I think. But of course, maybe I'm just posting up boring stuff. I don't know. But Burst Fields, thanks for being here. I really do appreciate you. I see Aaron Lopresti. He's in the background. I'm going to get to him here in a minute. So just hang tight, Aaron. I'm going to get to you. I think I'm about to lose my voice. No, I'm not going to lose my voice. Wait, what? No orange hair? No, I don't have orange hair. I tell you what, I was born with like black curly hair, and then when I was 6 months old, it all just fell out. And then I was like a bald baby for about a year. And then it grew back in and it was straight and white. So I had white hair all the way up until I was in like high school. And then like middle of high school, it started turning darker and stuff. And now it's kind of like this. But if I spend time in the sun, it'll bleach out again and white. If I was, you know, surfing like I used to all the time, that's what would be going on. You know, it'd start to bleach out and get streaks and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I remember the last time it was like that. I grew it real long and it had the blonde streaks in it and everything. And I went to work and someone at work, one of the ladies, she was like, "Hey, I like your streaks. Where'd you have that done?" And I was like, I didn't get streaks done in my hair. That's not something that I would do, you know. And then it made me kind of freaked out. I was like, I don't want people thinking that I'm bleaching streaks into my hair. So I just went and cut my hair off. And I do that all the time. I'll go for a couple of years and I'll just shave it, you know. So, yes. That's a strange hair story. I know it's weird. It's just a weird hair story. It's like, you know, you grow it out because you want to have some cool hair and everything. And you start getting these streaks in it because you're out in the sun and you're doing things. This is when I was living in Arizona. I was starting to get some, you know, some nice look to it and everything. And then she's like, the lady's like, "Man, go, what hair salon you go to? I need to go." Yeah, heck with that. Heck with that. Anyway, yeah, no. But what was Black Star saying? But you don't have all the hair products. Like, no, I don't have hardly any hair products. I just have one hair product, and that's like some gunk to kind of get it standing up. If I didn't do that, it'd just be flattened on my head, and it gets all greasy and nasty, and you don't want that. Who does your hair? My pillow. I know that's exactly. That's like the best way. Your pillow, whatever. Is it a pillow or a pillow? Because in the South we call it a pillow, not a pillow, but whatever. Anyway, so superstar. Just one little thing. I will promote one thing. So I did a stream the other day. I did this Spider-Man drawing. It's in ink. I did like a reaction video to the new Spider-Man trailer. That was kind of cool. I was always a huge Spider-Man fan. That was like my favorite Marvel character. So anyway, I did that. If you're interested in it, it's over on the website for sale right now. So go check it out if you're interested in that piece. All right. I think we've done enough. We've said enough. Let's and I got more stuff, but we'll save more stuff for later for some other time. Right now, though, Aaron, I think you need to get ready because you're about to come in. You got to blow it up and get huge. Get set. I see you coming in. Oh my God! Ah!
I have no hair. I can't do the things. I can only pretend.
Well, that's all right. What you need to do is you need to grow out all your facial hair. See, that's something that I can't do. Like I got a little bit of stubble right now. You can't hardly see it. That's a few days right there. Like I didn't start shaving until I was 30, and it still doesn't really. I don't know. It's like I've had hair all over my body, but then it wouldn't grow on my face.
I got hair growing on my face and no place else. But yeah, I could do a Santa Claus beard, but I was afraid I'd get like food and stuff caught in it, so I've never really grown it out.
Oh. Well, look, let me give you a proper welcome, okay? So I would like to welcome Aaron Lopresti to the Skits Fun House!
Wow.
Woo!
Wow.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna pass out. Hold on. Oh no, I'm all right. I'm all
good.
Right.
That got me worried there for a minute.
I about blew every bit of air out of myself, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm getting woozy."
I know woozy. You took your earphones out to do it. So
well, if I leave them in, then the mic right here is too close, and it starts to break. It breaks down, and you can't hear it. It's just like.
I see. Right. I thought maybe you're sick your ears from the screen.
Oh no, that's what you got to do. You got to save your ears.
Well, I didn't know that was coming. I was unprepared. But
I see. That's the whole point. Yeah, it's like that's what you need to do. You need to just be like unprepared and be like, "Oh my God, what's going on?"
Well, that's my life. I'm totally unprepared most of the time, so I fit right in.
Nice. So how's it going, man? I actually got to see you and meet you. Like, what was it? Like 2 or 3 months ago? 3 months ago? 4 months ago?
I was like it was August, wasn't it?
Maybe. Was it August? Okay.
I think it was.
I can't remember. Like my wife, she'll say, "Oh, you remember that thing we did?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that was like 3 weeks ago." She's like, "Baby, that's like 4 months ago." I was like, "Oh, really? Okay."
Yeah, I do the same thing. I was like, "Shelley, didn't we go to Germany like last year?" She goes, "No, it was 5 years ago." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Is that long ago?" But yeah, so we did a store signing in Tennessee, of all places. Of course, you live there, right? You live in Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm about an hour and a half from where the store was.
Yeah, so that was it was a lot of fun. I couldn't believe it just escaped. What's the name of the store? It just went right out of my head.
Oh, I didn't know you were about to ask me that.
See, you know,
it's Golden Age.
That's right, it's Golden Age, and what a great comic shop! Huge comic shop, a lot of stuff, and no, that was good fun. I even got to experience there at later in the evening, the thunderstorm rolled in.
Oh, I know.
Lightning, which are always spectacular in the South. We used to get some pretty crazy ones when I was living in Florida, so that was kind of nice to see that again.
So you lived in Florida. What part of Florida did you live in?
Well, we lived just outside of Tampa in a little town called Holiday, Florida, right there on the Gulf. And when I was working at CrossGen, so we were there for 2.5 years, I think, something like that.
Okay, well, I was born right across the state from you, right up the I-4 in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Oh,
So yeah, it's like we had Disney right in between us. How
yeah.
about that?
Well, you're saying you lived in Phoenix, so you've been all over the place. Phoenix, if you're a
Yeah.
surfer, you must have lived in California at some time, right?
Well, I'll tell you my California surf story. Okay,
All
so
right, lay it on
I
me.
okay, so I visited California probably in 2006. Okay, I had moved to Phoenix, and my aunt and uncle lived in San Bernardino. So I was
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna go to California and I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
So I go there, and then I'm like, okay, Aunt Annie, Aunt B, I need you to take me to the beach. I'm gonna go check out the surf because I hear California surfing is awesome. Okay, so I get there. I'm not quite sure which beach it was. It was south of LA somewhere. It was a real good surf spot where she knew where to take me. And I get there, and all I see is like a 6 foot wave breaking in the same spot over and over again. It was like perfectly laid out and everything. I'm like, dude, this is gonna be awesome. I mean, it's like right there. You don't even have to search around for the break. It's right there in the same spot every time. So I go out and I walk in, I put my feet in the water, and I'm like, nope, not gonna do it. It's too cold. I mean, it's like middle of summer and the water's like 58 degrees or something.
Well, no, wait. Where do you surf where the water is warm?
Florida, the water's like 80 degrees.
Okay, well, that's true. That
Yeah.
is true.
I mean, you lived on the West Coast. It was in the summer, it's like 84, 85 degrees in the Gulf, right?
Yeah, well, I remember I was in Fort Lauderdale one time many years ago, before we lived there, and walking out. I might have been Kokomo actually, walking out in the water, and it was really shallow, like knee high water for the longest time, and then it would finally drop off. But I remember it being very comfortably warm.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah. All I know is it was freezing and there was no way I was getting in that water. No way.
well,
So
a lot of guys wear what do you call them, the
wetsuits.
yeah, wetsuits. Why didn't you come prepared, man?
Well, I was there for like 4 hours and I had an old ghetto board that my aunt was letting me borrow from
Mm.
like her, from I think it was from the 80s or something like that, as a twin fin. But I was just like, no, I'm just not gonna do it. It's too dang cold. I don't want nothing to do with that freezing water.
Man, we have people out here on the Columbia River in Oregon, and that you want to talk about cold. That's like the
Yeah.
windsurfing capital of the world because it's so windy up there. But they're all, of course, in wetsuits and
Yeah.
padded
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, that's something that I might try if I had the proper equipment. I'd go out in the cold. But also another thing, and I didn't really know this at the time, is there are big sharks in that cold water.
Yeah,
Great whites. Okay.
yeah, there are.
Okay. Now, what made me stop surfing in Florida was I got tired of seeing sharks. Like, just so people know, Volusia County, which is where Daytona Beach is the shark bite capital of the world. Okay. Florida is the shark bite capital of the world, but the epicenter is right in Daytona Beach in Volusia County. That's where most of the shark attacks happen all over the planet. Now, they're little sharks. Like I've had like a 6 foot hammerhead just like circling around me, and that was like the what really did it in for me. Like I'd had a few encounters, but that hammerhead, I was like, I'm done. I can't handle this anymore.
Mm,
So I mean, in that cold water out there in California, Oregon,
mhm.
Washington, all up and down the coast, there is some big great whites, and I want
Yep.
nothing to do with those big sharks.
Yep. Terry Dodson, who's a pretty good friend of mine. He goes out there and body surfs and surfs a little bit over on the Oregon coast. I'm like, dude, just someday some great white's going to take you out, man. But he survived so far.
Well, here's something that pro surfers, they're quite familiar with what to do if a shark comes at them. Okay, now the reason why a shark will come at you when you're on a surfboard is because when they're underneath you, you actually look like a seal or
Right.
something scrumptious. Okay, So they kind of mistake you for that sort of thing. But if you're just kind of swimming in the water with your legs and everything like that, you tend to not look like what they want.
Right.
So it's actually worse for you to be on like a boogie board or a surfboard than it is for you to actually just be out there swimming.
Right.
So
Well, I'm not comfortable enough with either scenario that I usually stay out of ocean water for the most part. We did some scuba diving in Australia one time, but
wow.
it was at the Great Barrier Reef, and they kept telling us there's no sharks. They don't come near the reef. And I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? What if one decides he's going to do it anyway? But so I did not see any great whites in my time in Australia when I was scuba
Oh.
diving for a short time down by the Great Barrier Reef, but it was pretty spectacular.
Well, my family, they do. I have two uncles. My dad has two brothers. Actually, has three brothers, but two of them have deep sea fishing boats. So I grew up around a lot of fishing and that sort of stuff. And they would go down to the Keys during the summer for lobster season. So there's I think lobster season starts like end of June, beginning of July, something like that. So I would go down there from time to time and actually, do some lobster diving. Now, what we would do is we'd get behind a boat and we would troll behind a boat. Like I'd hop out, just grab a rope and just troll behind the boat with a mask on looking for, lobsters. What they do is they walk in lines, or they'll be, if there's a hole, they might congregate a bunch of them in a hole down on the bottom. And it's pretty shallow. It's like anywhere from like 5 to 15 feet in the Keys. It's not very deep.
Right.
So what you do is when you find some of them, you just let go of the rope and you swing around and you go down and you get them. But doing that diving, doing that right there, it actually made me not afraid of the water. One, because it's the Keys and you can see everything. I mean, the water is perfectly clear. Two, when you're down in the water, you can see all around you what's coming. It's not that scary. But when you're surfing in like North Florida, the water is a little more brackish. And sometimes it's clear, but most of the time it's kind of brackish and you can only see like maybe a few feet into the water. It's kind of a lot scarier when you can't see what's in the water with you.
Right. Yeah.
So.
I'm with you on that, man. If you can't, if I don't know what's coming up, I'm always thinking the worst. So I'm kind of a coward when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah, me too. I don't like not knowing. That's the thing. So what did you think of Tennessee? I mean, you weren't here long. You're only here for a day or two, and it's East Tennessee. East Tennessee is actually really pretty because we got the Smoky Mountains and everything. But what'd you think of your visit?
It was very scenic. I enjoyed it a lot, and I really wasn't there very long at all. I mean, I was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I came in. See, I did a trip to Kansas City, and right before that for a show, and then I'm trying to separate the two trips because it seems to me that I got into. I'm trying to even remember where we stayed at in the hotel. I can't. For some reason, all I can do is think of the Kansas City hotel for some reason. But anyway, I mean, I was literally there. Came in. I think I got in there Friday night. We did the signing on Saturday. And then I was out of there Sunday, so we just had that one day Saturday to look around. And, but I thought it was really nice. I mean, like I said, it was very scenic.
Yeah.
And, everybody, of course, is always in the South is very hospitable, friendly. Yeah. And, then we went out for food that night, which, was good eating. So
yeah, it was pretty good. That was the first time me and my wife had actually been to that place. So we haven't gone back since. We probably should because the food I thought was good. I mean, it was just kind of like pizzas and stuff and salads, but it was still super good, I thought.
Yeah, the only thing wrong with the lighting was it was so dark.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't even see.
It was dark, and they had them giant fans blowing tons of wind on us.
Trying to find a spot where we weren't sitting underneath the fan. That's right. But it was fun, and it's just for me. The older I get, the less enjoyable traveling is. And so
Yeah.
it's like if I have to get on a plane and fly a long distance, I'm less likely to get talked into doing it than if I, like from here to Phoenix is a piece of cake, 2-hour flight. You start going over to, the East Coast or Tennessee, closer to the East Coast. Now you're talking 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, depending on layovers and things. And
Sure, sure.
like,
So Black Star wants to know, did you have any sweet tea while you were here? Do you like sweet tea?
um, did I have any sweet tea? I don't think I did, but normally
Bum,
I don't. But I mean, I don't like when I drink tea, I generally like I drink coffee. I don't put anything in it.
no,
But
okay.
I would drink sweet tea, of course, if I had the opportunity.
Oh
But I
man,
did not get any.
sweet tea is fantastic. That's my favorite drink. It's like I can pretty much, if it wasn't for the fact that all that sugar just kind of messes with your body, I would drink it nonstop, 24/7. That is my drink of choice. I grew up on it. That and Kool-Aid. I mean, who doesn't like Kool-Aid,
That's what we grew up on because we never got soda when we were little because we were pretty poor folk back in the day, and so we never got soda or anything. So it was always Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Yeah, the same here, It's like I think I got like maybe one soda a week. What I would do is like I would go around and collect up soda bottles. Remember when you could turn them in for a
Sure.
nickel or 10 cents? So
Right.
I'd go around the neighborhood and collect up bottles and bring them in, and then I'd get like a buck or two, and then I'd get like a candy bar and a soda or something like that.
See, I would use that money to buy comics.
Funny you should say that. So the same about that same time when I was collecting up those bottles, across from the neighborhood where my grandma Siegenthaler lived was an old record store, and it had been there for like a long time. And they also had comic books in there, and that's actually where I bought my first comic. I bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #2, the original one. I think that
Mhm.
was like 85, 86 or something like that. So yeah, and it came from that money, collecting up bottles.
Yeah,
So
I spent from age probably. I think I started reading comics regularly probably about age 10 or 11, probably 11. And probably from 11 to 16 when I got my first car, I spent every dime I made mowing lawns, taking bottles back, doing
yep,
whatever on comics.
yeah,
So that 5-year period where I was just like building up this huge collection, buying new stuff, going to old used bookstores and buying old comics, and I had
yeah,
had quite a few long boxes there by the time I was 18 and ready to go to college.
yeah. See, I was pretty much the same way, and I think it was maybe middle of high school is when I kind of fell away from it. Like I think I was like 11 or 12 when I first started. I actually had a job at a comic book shop.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, I was like bagging, boarding, putting stuff in order, taking all the long boxes, making sure everything looked good, switching out old boards if they were yellowing and stuff. Yeah, it was just something like that. And I only worked like 4 hours a day, I think it was.
Mhm.
And this was during the summers, and but it was just really cool. And I spent every penny I made on comic books and, same just like you were saying. But then once I got into high school and, you start interested in girls and
Mhm.
driving and stuff like that, it was just like, it kind of all went away. And I was just like, let's just do this. And then I kind of disappeared from it uh, for a while, for years, maybe 10, 15 years. I always kind of would go to comic book shops and see what was on the shelves, but there wasn't anything really exciting me. And that was like 90, maybe 94, 95. I stopped getting comics or something like that. So right before the crash, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
well, you saw it coming. Maybe subconsciously you knew something was gonna go down. But I still bought. I want to say I still bought Spider-Man and a few other books off the rack while I was still in high school, but I think I went up to issue 200 of Spider-Man, and then I stopped buying after that because cars are expensive, and they're taking girls on dates. That's expensive, and it's like comic books or chicks. What are you gonna do? So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I
I
mean,
went with girls.
it's an obvious choice which one you go
Yeah,
for.
but then got back into it later. When I was in college and had then when I got out and had some more money again, I would go back to buying.
So I'm guessing that's how you got into doing comics or doing artwork. I guess did comics bring you into artwork?
Um, no, I I can't remember a time where I wasn't drawing. I mean, I was drawing when I was old enough to hold a pencil, but it was always I was drawing cartoons. I would like
Yeah.
because we would, you watch Saturday morning cartoons, or you had cartoons on after school or whatever, and so those are the kind of the things that I was drawing until I discovered comics, and then I just went full bore. That's all I would draw was comics. Once I was about 11 years old, I just was so mesmerized with, this idea that um, you had all this great drawing, but there was also this story attached to it, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
just looking at pictures, but
Yeah.
it was like this story that you could tell. And I was always a storyteller, as also as a young kid. I would always, I would write stories, and then I would draw a drawing to go with the stories, right? And so when I
Okay.
found
Yeah.
comic books, it was like this perfect marriage of the two things I loved to do. And so I just started creating my own comics, and then just kept working at it until I was able to eventually get into the industry.
Did you? I think you said you went. Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to film school. Well, eventually I ended up at film school at USC.
Nice.
And but before that, I went to Oregon State for a year, and then dropped out of that, and then went to community college because I wanted to go to film school. So I went to community college for 2 years and got all my general eds out of the way, and then got into USC when I was in 1985 when I was 21. And so I went down to USC and to film school, and I was there for, 3 years, 3.5 years down in LA. And I had a job when I got out of school. I was reading scripts at TriStar and some other stuff, but it kind of hit me one day that I was like, this is really going to be a difficult process, to become a director in Hollywood, right? And I was like, is this something I'm really committed to? Because it could be, it could be grinding away for decades and never make it, right? And so
Sure.
I was like, after about 3.5 years in LA, I'd pretty much had it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should revisit this whole art thing again. And that's what I did. I started sending out samples to, there was like small publishers at that time. This had been the, 1988 probably. And, picked up a few jobs with like Blackthorn Comics, which came and went out of business, in a couple of years, kind of during that sort of independent boom where you were talking about, where you picked up the Turtles and stuff. That was really kind of that first big indie
Push.
explosion.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of small companies that, basically needed artists that would work for practically nothing. That was me. And so that's kind of, I cut my teeth on that. And then uh, went to San Diego because I dawned on me, I'm living in LA. I'm like, why am I not going to the San Diego Comic Con? The biggest Comic Con in the world is just, 2 hours down the road, and why am I not going? So I
Yeah.
started going to that, and I took some samples down there and picked up a Marvel job and thought I had made it. But after that Marvel job, it was like I never heard from them again. So I had to start going back, saving my money and going back every 6 months to New York and showing my portfolio and showing my portfolio. And eventually it got some traction, and I was able to do it full time.
That's awesome. So, I was looking over your, what is it, on Wikipedia? They actually have a list of like some of the stuff that you've worked on and stuff like that. It seemed like a wide range of
Long
different
list.
stuff. Yeah. And I was just wanting to ask you, is there anything that you wanted to draw that you never got to?
Well, no, not character wise, because I don't think there's a character that I haven't drawn in some capacity, even, if it was a guest star in an issue.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have had most of the regular books I did, like regular monthly books, were not uh, like top tier books.
Yeah.
So I would, I did some Spider-Man work, but I never did a run on Amazing Spider-Man. And I
Yeah.
did, some stories with Captain America in them, but I never did a run on Captain America.
Yeah.
I was doing Ms. Marvel. I got an extended run on the Hulk with Planet Hulk, which is really nice.
Yeah. I saw
Um,
that.
I did some X-Men stuff, but it was it was a couple issues here, a couple issues there. I did a run on Excalibur with Chris Claremont, but that was like a third tier X-Men book at the time. It was a revamped Excalibur. It wasn't the one with, Captain Britain and all those ones that he originally did. And so, I mean, it did have, Professor X in it and Magneto, but that was a lot of new characters. So it wasn't a, highly visible X-Men book. And then of course at DC, I worked on Wonder Woman, which is obviously a very iconic character, but not a great character. Not a great character for sales though. I mean, it's not a huge seller. It has its sort of cult following that's very, very strong, but it's not a big book. And the biggest book I probably worked on at DC was Justice League International when we launched the New 52 stuff. That did really well initially.
Now, what Justice League books did they have come out with the New 52? Because I remember there was one that Jim Lee was working on. I'm guessing that was just Justice League.
Yeah, they had the main Justice League book that him and Jeff Johns were working on.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Justice League International, which Dan Jurgens was writing and I was drawing.
Yeah,
then
cool.
David Finch was supposed to launch a new Justice League book. And that's one of the reasons why they canceled our Justice League book after 12 issues, because it was actually selling pretty well. But they thought it was some of the, I guess it was Jeff Johns, I'm not 100% certain though, that thought the book was kind of dumb and didn't really think it fit with what they were doing with the other. Because we were sort of, we had all the oddball characters, so it was a lot of fun to work on, but it was very different than what they were doing with the ultra serious Justice League stuff. And they thought with a Finch book coming out, which I don't think ever actually came out. So they canceled that one. They canceled our New 52 because they thought there was just going to be Justice League oversaturation, and we were the bottom dweller of the Justice League books, even though we were still selling pretty well. And Dan and I both went to Dan DiDio and said, "Hey, why don't you if you guys don't want this to be a Justice League book, why don't we just change the name? Have them break away from the Justice League and do their own thing. They can be like a rebel group of Justice Leaguers, and we can keep the series going." And he was like, "Nah, we're not going to do that. We're just getting rid of it." But then later, I remember Dan DiDio saying, "Yeah, we probably should have kept it around." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't cancel a book that is selling, in this market, 40,000 plus copies a month. You just don't." And
well, I got to tell you, like at that time when the New 52 happened, that was I'd started getting back into comics, and when the New 52 happened, I probably stayed in for about another year, and then I just dropped off. But when they did happen, I remember buying the Justice League. I bought like the first 2 or 3 issues just because Jim Lee was doing the art. But I got to tell you, I didn't care for the story. I just felt like it was kind of here and there. It wasn't interesting at all. And then I also did the Batman with Greg Capullo. I hung into that for maybe 7 or 8 issues, and I was like, okay, I don't really care for this either, even though Greg Capullo's art's awesome. Yeah. And then the only thing that really kept me interested for a while was I think it was Batwoman, and I can't remember the artist on it, but the artist was fantastic, and it looked like it should have been like late 80s, early 90s.
That was J.G. Jones, I think, did that.
What was the DC label where all the dark comics were back then?
Vertigo.
I don't know why I lost that, but anyway, it looked like it should have been in Vertigo, like Sandman and that sort of stuff, like back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was really, really good stuff. But then the artist disappeared like at issue 7 or 8, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not interested in it anymore. And I think that's something that really happens a lot now with comics, and I think maybe this started happening after Image, founded and stuff like that. But it's like they don't keep artists on books for a very long time. It's the only thing I can think of recently is Greg Capullo on Batman. I think he did like 50 issues or something like that.
Yeah, they don't want artists becoming stars anymore because of what happened with Image, and so the whole editorial mentality changed, where they would, after you've been on a book for a year and a half, 2 years, they would, even if you didn't want to leave, they would flip you onto another book.
Yeah.
So that's what happened with Wonder Woman. It was they were like, well, we need to move you to something else. I'm like, okay. I was supposed to take over Superman, but the story was so uninteresting to me that I refused to do it, and that's why I ended up on Justice League. Well, it was Superman walks across, or Clark Kent walks across America, or something. It was just, I'm like, are you kidding me? You want me to draw 12 issues of Clark Kent walking across America, visiting small towns? No, I'm not going to. My chance to do Superman, and that's what you give me. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
That sounds boring.
Oh yeah, it does. The writer bored himself and quit before he even finished. So that was terrible.
Well, I want to kind of switch things up for a minute here because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do have a quick question that's come up. Ask Aaron if you ever made a large purchase on a rare comic during his collection as a kid, or even now.
Well, as a kid or even now? Well, okay, I'll show you something. Hang on a second. I'll grab something.
Oh, this is exciting. We're just waiting to see what's going to be coming. Oh boy, here we go. It's in plastic, hard plastic.
Avengers number 4.
Nice.
First Silver Age Captain America. Spent $1,800 on this.
Whoa, nice.
Now I've got a Golden Age Captain America that I spent $3,200 on, but a lot of that was trade. Not all of it was cash, because me dropping $3,200 in cash on anything seems unrealistic, other than maybe a used car.
Yeah, a car or something, or a house.
So I had to sell a bunch of books that I had, and I sold some toys that I had, and traded some books that I had to this guy, the dealer that had the Golden Age Captain America, and so that was those were the two biggest purchases. When I was a kid, or when I was a young adult, I think I was 18 or 19. A local comic shop here got I was a big Spider-Man collector. I had almost the entire run. I didn't have an issue number 1 though, of course. Yeah. But he had a fine copy of Spider-Man number 2, right?
Nice.
And so I ended up trading darn near half my collection at the time for that Spider-Man number 2. And then I went back and, of course, rebought most of my collection. But I got the Spider-Man number 2. So those were probably the two or three really big purchases I've made in my collecting life. And I still make some.
I'm trying to think back to when I went to college, I needed money for college. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I need to sell everything I own. So I literally sold like all my comics. I sold the only toy I had as a kid really was Transformers. I had like 100 or something Transformers, and I sold all of those. I mean, like I was just like, it was a yard sale. It's like everything has to go, but the one big book, I had a really, really good copy of Vampirella number 1, the Frank Frazetta cover. The Warren magazine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think at the time I paid. I did trade and paid, but I think the cost was around $400 or $500 at the time. I mean, even back then, that was a pretty expensive book.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So,
but that's probably the one too that I wish I never got rid of as well. So, but. This is really interesting. If I had these now, they'd be worth a fortune. But when you're working at a comic book shop, Diamond, they're always messing up and sending stuff to the stores. Okay, like you'll get like a whole case of like some book that you don't even want, and there's like 100 of them sitting there in a case that they sent you by accident, and then you call them up, you're like, hey, you sent me this up. They're like, keep it, we don't want it.
Yeah, don't send it back.
Well, one time at the comic book shop, they sent us a whole case of Spider-Man number 300s. Okay. And they sat there for a while at the comic book shop because like we ordered like a bunch of them plus the extra case. Mm-hmm. And for some reason I was a huge McFarlane fan at the time, and I was just like, I told my boss, I was like, listen, I'm gonna buy the whole case from you. And he's like, why? I was like, I don't know. It just seems like something to have. So I bought the whole case. It was, it was like, I don't know, like 60, $80 or something
Right.
like that. He just sold me
Good
the whole
investment.
case. Yeah,
Good investment.
exactly. It was. And then like when I went to college, those books were selling for like 40, $50 a piece or something like that. This was in like 96 or something like that. And I sold them and I made a ton of money off of them. I really did. But if I had them now,
Oh, you'd really make a ton of money.
yeah, I mean, like an unopened case of Spider-Man number 300s from Diamond, like.
Yeah, well, every story ends that way, though, right? If I just hung on to that, it'd be
Yeah,
worth a fortune right now. But that's the same thing. 20 years from now, whatever you've got is going to be worth a ton more than it is right now.
yeah,
So it's
exactly,
like
yeah,
there's always that point where you sell and you think, oh, I'm making really good money on this, but you always know that, well, 20 years from now, it's going to be worth more. But
uh, on all the Transformers, I had all the original like Series 1 Transformers. I had like 130, 140 of them, okay? And I had multiples, like I had multiple Optimus Primes, all of this sort of stuff. And I was buying them at flea markets at the time for, $1, $2, $3, whatever. And then when I sold them, I was selling them for good money. Like I was making like 20, $30 a piece. But then eBay came along in the late 90s and all this stuff was going for hundreds of dollars. And I was just like, why didn't I save it for another 5 years until eBay came along? And then, but
I know, isn't that the truth?
I
Hang
mean,
on to it
it's
for 5 more
so
years.
I know. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to switch things up right real quick. Okay. So I was looking back at your YouTube channel
Yes.
and it looks like what you've been doing it for maybe 2, 3 years, like
Yeah,
steady,
I think 2.5 years, maybe
2.5 years.
like that.
Now, and it seems like it really started to blossom maybe about 3 or 4 months ago. Like for about a year, like you're getting steady growth, like hundreds, 200s on views and stuff
Right.
like that. But what would you say? I think at that time that I saw the growth boom, I'm guessing that's when you launched your campaign. Am
Yeah,
I
a couple
correct?
a couple of things happened, by, going on, by launching that campaign, you started to get more interest, but it was really going on Ethan Van Sciver's show because he has he has 146,000 subscribers, right? That helped, and then because I went on his show, then I got, attacked on social media like crazy, and that funneled a ton of people over to my channel as well. So those two basic events, going on Ethan's show and then being hated, uh, helped my channel grow immensely, like overnight. And
Well, you see that's something I was just like, man, he was like doing a steady growth and things were doing good. And then I was like, okay, maybe something just finally clicked and but it was like people not liking you, and
it's
that's what
well controversy, right?
yeah,
Anytime
controversy.
if you talk, because the show I do is very good natured, and we just do fun stuff, kind of like you're doing, and we're not out there criticizing or attacking people or anything, like that.
Yeah.
So, but controversy sells, and so the more controversial are, the more people you're going to draw in. That just doesn't really suit my personality, but it was those controversial events that I sort of just by accident really walked into,
Yeah.
sort of helped the channel grow. So, but I guess like
So
who is it that said there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So,
well, that's
uh,
just it. I mean, what was the big thing? I think Rob Liefeld, back in the day, everyone complained about his drawing. It's like, oh my God, he doesn't draw feet, he stinks. It's like all the same poses. He's ripping poses off. I was like, yeah, but it's exciting, and people just talking about him made him huge.
yep, yep.
And it was just like, man, what the heck? But okay, so I think that might have explained my second one too. I was going to ask you about your two campaigns because your first campaign, it never got funded, and it was I think you made like 20,000 on it, something like that. But it
Well,
didn't reach your funding ledge.
it was like about 15 or 16,000 is what it originally raised. Well, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I thought at the time that, you know, our main outlets for promotion were social media, you know, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Sure.
But although you may have a lot of followers, that doesn't mean you have a lot of customers.
Yeah.
And what I learned was that the YouTube channel was essential. But see, I started the YouTube channel roughly about the time I was launching the campaign. So it was like, you need to do that like months or years in advance.
Yeah.
To start priming that. And so I think, you know, and plus I was still working full time at DC. And so it wasn't something that I was pouring, you know, my lifeblood into. It was something I was kind of doing on the side. And that Mandible Smasher, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And you don't realize until you really get into it how much work promoting a book is, and how much time that it actually takes. And I kind of thought, well, you know, I've been in the industry almost 30 years. I've worked on Planet Hulk. I've worked on Ms. Marvel. I've worked on Wonder Woman. This will sell itself. And that's not how it works, right? And so,
yeah, you didn't have an opportunity to sit on one book and develop yourself as an artist and be known, you know?
Right. And so, you know, so it was a failure. And plus you know, I didn't understand the algorithms or whatever they call it in Indiegogo or any of these platforms that, you know, so I set a pretty high goal for, I think, like $32,000 or something that I needed to actually pay for, that it would cost to do the book. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to pay yourself. You got to pay your colorists. I mean, there's bills, printers. Yeah. Shipping.
And so, but then because you never hit that, you know, that never starts funding, then it never gets pushed on Indiegogo as a hot, you know, property. And so then no one ever sees it. So it was just a bunch of, you know, missteps that sort of compounded on top of each other. And then, so I sort of really learned a lot from that campaign. And it was no disaster that it didn't get funded, because like I said, I was still working full time at DC, and I just took the thing over to Dark Horse and said, I tried to do this. I couldn't do it. You guys want to do it? And they said, yeah, we'll do it. And so they're the ones that have published the trade paperback now that is actually now out. And the funny thing is, I've been offering signed editions of that trade paperback through my Wraith of God campaign, and I've sold almost 500 copies of it. Whereas when I launched it as an Indiegogo, I on its own thing, I sold like, you know, pre-sold like 200, and I've sold like 500 of them on through my Wraith of God campaign. So let's just say I learned a lot, and so I kept the YouTube channel going at that point, knowing that at some point I was going to try again to self-publish, and so it, you know, I took a better strategy in my approach this time to Wraith of God, and made sure that people were aware of it, and that I was on other people's shows promoting it, not just my own, and that you know, I got involved with people that really had a wide exposure to a large audience, and you know, and then by associating with Comicsgate group, if you want to call it that or whatever, bringing in a very hardcore loyal fan base, you know, that supports a lot of those books, and just, you know, I just learned so much and got to understand how to market it and who to market it to. It was so it made a huge difference, obviously, because Wraith of God is doing really well, which I'm just, you know, very grateful for, very thankful for, to, you know, everybody out there that's supporting it, obviously. But there was a lot of work in, you know, 2 years prior to me launching Wraith of God that actually got it enough exposure so that it had a chance to succeed when I launched it.
Yeah, definitely. We got a question here. Envu, how many issues of Wraith of God, Wraith? Did you say Wraith or Wrath? Wraith.
It's Wraith.
Wraith.
expect like a ghost. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Can we expect to be looking forward to in the future, and will we see crossover of the characters from the two campaigns?
Yes, and yes.
Oh.
There's what's frustrating is that you can't do the stuff fast enough, right?
Yeah.
You got all these ideas like, man, would this be great if I could do this monthly? But when you're doing everything, you can't, right?
Yeah.
So it takes time. But yeah, I have a project following up Wraith that's going to feature a brand new Wraith story and a brand new Garbage Man story, and then there'll be a third character, but all these characters tie into the same universe. Okay, so it's not going to be like this random anthology book with 3 different sci-fi stories. I mean, they're like getting, it would be like getting 3 issues of, a Marvel comic. I'm going to get Daredevil, I'm going to get Captain America, and I'm going to get Spider-Man, and we're going to see how they all connect. And so that's the second thing. And then the third after that is going to be another Wraith project and Garbage Man story that sort of ties everything together and then allows me to move forward with my Lopresti verse, for lack of a better name, and characters going forward. So yeah, I do have a long-term plan. And so yeah, this won't be the only Wraith of God comic, and there'll be more Garbage Man as well. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to introduce a third
nice
character series in there as well.
Well, that's cool. That's a big exclusive, man. We got an exclusive on here. I don't know if you've said it somewhere else, but I'm gonna say it.
I haven't. So there you go.
Boom! Exclusive. Sweet. Well, let's go ahead and actually see your campaign since we're talking about it here. Let me pull that thing up right quick so people can see what we're talking about. Share audio. Bam. Okay. So you want me to play the trailer right quick for you?
Sure, if you want.
All right, let's do that.
It's only a minute long, 56 seconds.
Beautiful.
Not too painful. So yeah, so there it is.
Nice, nice. So when can we expect to see the book? When's it going to ship?
Well, that's an excellent question. I went back and checked. What did I put down? And I
don't know.
What do they call it? The expected release date, or the approximate release date, is April. I was hoping to get the book done in March and to the printers like at the end of March or the 1st of April. But as I looked out the schedule and how things are progressing, because I'm penciling and inking this myself, and so it's basically I'm able to pencil and ink pretty consistently 3 pages a week, which in the real world would basically be 6 pages, right? I mean, because you pencil a page, then you ink a page, you pencil a page and ink a page. So that puts me right at April for finishing this up early April. And then provided there's no extended delay in the printing process, and my colorist is right on my tail and my letterer is right on my tail, and I can get the book put together by a designer quickly, and all those factors that you only have a limited amount of control over.
Yeah.
It should get to the printer sometime in April, rather early April or late April, which would mean it would be in people's hands by May, I would think, at the latest. And hopefully maybe by the last week of April, it's, we're able to ship out. But that's going to depend on the printer's schedule and all that kind of stuff, which is, you can't really predict because we're talking, still 4 or 5 months from now, right? So
yeah,
there's some variables in there, but it should be very close to April, whether it's the first couple of weeks of May or the last week of April, somewhere in there. So I'm pretty much on schedule.
Nice. Nice.
Give or take a week here or there.
So you were just saying that you do about 3 pages a week, penciling and inking.
Yeah.
Now, something that I was always told is, you got to do a page a day. Now,
right.
in my mind, doing skits, I do the whole thing myself. I pencil, ink, and color.
Right.
So when people were telling me you got to do a page a day, in my mind, I was like, okay, I got to do a page a day. I got to pencil, ink, and color a page in one day.
That's crazy. That's insane.
Well, that's what I did. So,
it's funny. People ask me, because I'm considered really fast in the industry, and they say, how are you so fast, and able to maintain a level of quality? And you're like, I grew up with, I bought How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way when it first came out, when I was 11 years old or 12 when it first came out. And one of the things that I got the hardcover though. And so one of the things that impressed upon me in that and other stuff I had read was, the expectation is you got to at least be able to draw a page a day. Yeah. So when I was working full time, in mainstream, I was producing 5 to 6 pages a week of pencils, type pencils ready for the inks every week. That's what I did because I had trained myself to do that. But I've never inked myself on a project other than I ink my own covers all the time, or not all the time, but most of the time I'd ink my own covers. And then occasionally I did one Batman story, a Legends of the Dark Knight story that I penciled and inked myself. I wrote, penciled, and inked, but nice. There was no deadline on it. So I kind of worked on it as I had time to work on it. And then when I got it done, they published it. And, but I have never done a series or regular work where I was penciling and inking my own stuff. And that's what I'm doing with Wraith of God. So I didn't even know realistically, if doing 1 or 2 pages here or there is one thing, but if you're sitting there saying, okay, I'm doing this every month for 4 or 5 months, because this is a 78-page graphic novel. It's not, a 48-page book. It's a 78. There's a lot of pages. And so I wasn't sure, when you're trying to guesstimate how long is it going to take you to do this project, I wasn't sure what I could do, right? Yeah. And but what I found out, I'm on page 26 right now. I'm inking page 26 right now. That it's been pretty consistently about 3 pages a week where I'm getting it penciled and inked, because you got to lay the page out right, and then you got to draw the page, and then you got to ink the page. And it might get faster, or I shouldn't say faster because that makes it seems like you're rushing it, but I may get more proficient at it as I go forward and get more and more into it. But, I thought, okay, I know I can get 3 pages based on what I've done so far. I know I can get 3 pages done a week. So factoring that in, this is where I'm going to finish. And it's going to be about the first week of April. If I can, maybe there'll be some weeks where I get a couple more pages done, and maybe I can shave off a week off that, so that's kind of how I'm looking at it. So it's an interesting experience, because I never wanted to ink my own stuff, because I'd spend so much time on the pencils and making sure the pencils were really, really tight, so that when I sent them to an inker, there wouldn't be any question about what I wanted them to do. Well, when you're inking yourself, you sort of know what you want to do. So your pencils don't have to be as tight. So you can take some time off that penciling, and you do a little bit of the drawing with the inking. And what I found is that when I would do super tight pencils and ink it myself, it was really kind of boring, because I was like, I already finished this piece and now I got to go over it again. But when you're doing looser pencils and you're doing some of the drawing when in the inking process, it's kind of like a new, fresh process. So you don't get this feeling that, oh, this is so boring, I just drew this. You're kind of feeling like, I drew part of this and now I'm going to finish it, And so it's a different feeling, and it's helps you stay motivated.
Yeah, that's one of the things for me. It's like I'll show my pencils to somebody and they're like, man, those pencils look great. And then I show them my inks and they're like, your inks look nothing like pencils. And I'm like, well, it's a different, product. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
different medium,
Yeah.
so I treat it differently. Like my inks, I use like dry brushing, lots of splatter. I mean, I'm just like all over the place. There's, range of shades with it and stuff like that. But then when I pencil, I do, a lot of line work and hatching and you
Mhm.
never see that in my inks. And it's
Right.
for that reason. I
Right.
don't want to go over and trace
Right.
all those lines and everything. It's like,
Right.
why would you want to do that? It's
Yeah.
like, so I'm just like, this is the way I ink. This works good for me. I'm not going to sit there with a quill pen and like, it's just something I cannot do. And plus, my style, like I'm pretty harsh with materials and stuff. So
Mhm.
like I've tried the quill pens, and all I do is just stab the paper, and I get blotches all over the
Yeah,
place.
splatters all over
Yeah,
the place.
yeah. So I have to use I use brushes mainly,
Mhm.
and maybe every now and then I'll use like a pen, but very not hardly ever do I use a pen. It's always brushes, and it's because I just have more control with a brush than I can with just some silly pen. And there's no line weight, It's like I do one line and I want to forget it. I don't want to have to go back and add line weight to it, and stuff like that. It's just it's like I don't want to do that. So brushes is for me.
Yeah, I trained on a brush, and that's all I ever used for the longest period of time. But oddly enough, I am inking Wraith of God all with pen because I wanted kind of a rougher. My dog's getting all
I hear him. I
aggressive
hear
out
him.
there. Um, I He's always got to have one bark fest while I'm on, live streaming. But um, so I'm going in with a pen because I want it to have kind of a sketchier. I want more energy in the line work because when I ink with a brush, it tends to get very slick and very sort of almost porcelain looking, and
Yeah.
perfect. And so I didn't want that. This being sort of this sort of Clint Eastwood gritty Western sort of feel that I want for this book. And so
Yeah.
I figured that was the best way to do it. And it's worked really, really well. It's just, but it's different because I have never really done that before.
Yeah. I mean, mine, you don't see anything clean there. There's nothing clean. I mean, it's just like all over the place, just rough and
Yeah.
tumbling, and it's all brushwork. I was just like, I, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't want it clean. I don't want it porcelain. I don't want none of that. I stay away from it completely. It's just like I want what you want. I want that energy and excitement that you get when you first lay down the pencils, where it's like, oh, look at that. You can't recreate that.
Well, I've had people say, "God, we love your pencils, Aaron," but after they're inked, they seem to lose some of that energy and stuff, and um, that's mainly because I've worked with brush inkers over the years. But when I had somebody like Danny Mickey ink me, or even Norm Rapman does a really nice job of it too.
Yeah.
I'm talking about other guys inking me. They keep that sort of energy because they have that pencil energy in their pen style, when they ink it. And you can get rough. Obviously Klaus Janson does a great job of, roughing up his line work with a brush. But the way I always approached it was very Brian Boland-esque, just very slick, very tight.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I really wanted to kind of branch out and try something different. And so that's what I'm doing on Wraith of God. And so far, I think it looks really good. I think it's working well. So
Yeah, it does look good. I tell you what, why don't you give like one pitch for everyone that's listening? Just say, hey, here's why you need to buy this because it's the coolest thing in the world. Boom, sell it.
well, it is the coolest thing in the world. And that's why you should buy it. So you just sold it for me. No, what it is the elevator pitch on this story is basically this character is kind of a Batman of the Old West. Okay, he travels around hunting monsters, and he has an associate, Esther, who's this former Salvation Army worker that is sort of his Alfred, his helper. But their relationship is very tenuous, and so you have this sort of their personal relationship problems going on in the background while they're trying to hunt down these werewolves or werewolf eventually. And there's this monster hunter, retired English monster hunter, living in this small town in Arizona. And he has this amulet that when a werewolf gets it in his possession, that it makes them invincible. So like silver bullets wouldn't work on them. You know, nothing would be able to kill them while they had this amulet while they're in their bestial form, right? So he's trying to get there to stop them. They're trying to get there to get the amulet, and there's a lot of mystery and intrigue, as well as werewolf hunting and superhero stuff. So it's a real nice blend of a monster book, a superhero book, and a western. So if you like
Nice.
any of those things, you'll probably like this book.
Sweet. Sounds great. That's awesome, man. You know, gotta definitely get our copy. Good.
Yeah, it's challenging because I'm doing a bunch of stuff that I don't normally draw. You know, I have to draw a lot of horses. You're drawing Old West, you know, people in wagons and, you know, old bars and old, you know, it's a lot of fun too. You know, it's challenging, but it's fun because it's a different environment than I've ever done illustrative work for before. So,
you know, kind of going off of the whole horses and the Old West and stuff like that, and going back to what we talked about before, like what's a book that you paid a lot of money for? Something that I bought recently, I totally forgot about it, but I bought some old Frazetta Ghost Riders.
Oh yeah, these are great.
You know, yeah, those are some fantastic covers that he did on that. So I bought a couple of those, and I think it's number 2 and number 3 I got Ghost Rider. He didn't do number 1.
No, Dick Ayers did.
Yeah, so I recently bought those. I bought those for like a birthday present to myself like 2 years ago. Or
those are the best kind of presents when you get it for yourself, right? Because you know exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like in this comic book shop that we go to. There's a bunch of comic book shops around Knoxville, and we try and hit them up from time to time. This one place, I was just sitting there checking out, and I look up on the wall. I'm like, whoa, where'd the Ghost Riders come from? You don't see them every day, you know? So I was just, I ended up buying them for myself.
I had one of those, but that was one of the books that ended up in the trade for that Golden Age Captain America. So, but yeah, I did have one of those Frazetta Ghost Rider covers for a while.
They're fantastic. Yeah.
So I keep getting asked this question, if you don't mind. Someone in the chat, Aaron, will you reprint Garbage Man? I missed out on the Wraith of God campaign. That's Rick Saylor. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Dark Horse has the rights to that trade paperback in the deal that we made to reprint it. So until they would be the ones that would reprint it if it got reprinted. But I'm checking right now. I've gotten 2 extra boxes basically for the campaign after I sold out of the initial ones that I ordered, and those have sold out. So I'm trying to get another one, which I think I can get another case, which would be another 44 books. And I will put those up on the campaign again once I get those. But you can also get the book through Amazon or through your local comic shop. It just won't be signed. So the editions I'm doing through my Wraith of God campaign are signed. But if worse comes to worse and you can't ever break through and get when I offer them up on my campaign before they sell out, or I run out of them, you can always get it through Amazon or your local comic shop. And there is some new material in the Garbage Man trade paperback, about 18 pages of new material, because originally Batman was in the story, and so I had to remove Batman from the story before I could get the rights back to the character and do what I'm doing through Dark Horse. And so I had to put in my own characters. So it is actually the first appearance of a super team that I'll be using going forward. So it is, you don't have to read Garbage Man to understand what's going on in Wraith of God, but they do eventually tie in together. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to get your hands on the Garbage Man trade paperback, whether you're able to get it from me, like I said, a signed edition, or an unsigned one through Amazon or someplace else.
Nice. Well, there you go, man. That's awesome. Hey, we got someone who showed up southbound. I remember seeing both of you in Maryville, Tennessee. Glad to see you streaming together. Hey, man, thanks a lot for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for stopping by both places.
So, as a comic book artist, I'm guessing you do collect a certain amount of comic book art, like original art. Yeah,
I have.
Okay, so I gotta ask you, what's your best piece?
It's my best piece, or what's my favorite piece? Because there's
What's your favorite piece? Because like I understand that I have favorite pieces and then I have best pieces. Or just tell me both. You know what your best and your favorite.
Well, I've got a Simonson original that he did a Thor
Nice,
piece for me
nice.
about 10 years ago that's hanging up there. It's really nice. And those are Simonson pieces are really hard because he doesn't sell his originals, right?
Yeah,
And so there's not a ton of that stuff floating around. So that's a great piece. And it means a lot to me because it was a gift. But it's also just from a collector standpoint, it's a really great piece because, you know, they're rare. I have a kind of an oversized sketchbook that I have other artists contribute in. And I've got a Mark Schultz Deja Thoris
nice,
piece in there that's pretty sweet.
nice.
Um, I have a Alan Davis Modoc page from Clandestine, and then I've got I've got a couple of now here I can actually reach it.
Uh-oh.
This is Mike Plug inked by Alex Nino, and it's from Weird World, which was in Marvel Premiere number. I should know that off the top of my head. It was Marvel Premiere 30 something.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
that's sweet.
But anyway, it's Plug inked by Nino, so it's really cool. So you can see it's got the elves on it and the dragon and everything. It's a really nice page.
Yeah.
About 1977, I think.
Hey, that's the year I was born.
Hey, there you go. So I have this, and I've got one of the. This is like I love fantasy stuff. I wish it sold better than it does, or because I would do more stuff like, you know, sword and sorcery and fantasy stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
then this is the same from the same series. This is Warriors from the Shadow Realm, which was a Marvel Super Special in 1978. It was a full color magazine size, but it was the same continuation of that story that was in black and white I just showed you.
Yeah.
And this is original painted art.
Nice.
This isn't an overlay. It's painted on the board. So it's John Buscema, inked by Rudy Nebres, painted by Peter Ledger. And so I got a page from that
Nice.
at an auction a couple years ago. So those are like a couple of things that are near and dear to me because those were some of my favorite stories when I was a kid, and I was able to get a couple of pieces from that. But I have, you know, I have various. I got a lot of good people in my sketchbook. You know, Kevin Nolan, Michael Golden, Travis Charest, in my sketchbook. So I have some Adam Hughes. I have a great Adam Hughes piece in there. So I have a lot of nice stuff in my sketchbook. And I have a few. I don't have a ton of original comic art, you know, pages and stuff because they're so stinking expensive.
Yeah.
But when I see something that maybe from my youth or whatever that really means something to me, I'll try my best to get it. I had quite a few. Well, when I say quite a few, I had like 5 or 6 vintage Wrightson pieces that all ended up getting sold. Because I had periods of time where I was like unemployed, and I had to part with those, which was painful.
See, that's another thing too. Bernie Wrightson, you know, he didn't used to sell his artwork, but I think he got like a divorce or something like that,
That's
and then
exactly
he started selling. It's like,
and that's when I got some of these
terrible.
pieces. They just kind of flooded into the market, and I grabbed as many as I could.
Yeah.
And again, it's like vintage Wrightson between, you know, about 78. You know, between
Nice. Yeah,
72
that's the
and
time.
1980 were like the key Wrightson years.
Yeah,
And
when he was part of the studio and all that.
yeah. And so I had some nice pieces of that, and I don't have any of that anymore, unfortunately. But I do have a few pieces, like I said, here and there. But I spend more money on old comics than I do original art.
Well, you know what's interesting is like when I wasn't buying comic books for all those years, the one thing I was buying is artwork. You know, because like I would see like new artists coming up, like Ashley Wood when he was coming up in the 90s. I was like, man, this guy's really good, you know. So like I bought a bunch of his Spawn pages and stuff like that. I thought those looked really good. And then I got like some of his what is it, robot versus what is it? It's Amazon versus robot versus something. I don't know. It's crazy, but it's like his own property.
Right.
I got some of that. That's pretty good. But I guess probably. I guess my best piece. It's not my favorite piece, but my best piece is I have a Frazetta piece. That's
Oh, you
pretty
have a
good.
Frazetta piece?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a huge fan of fantasy art, just like what you were saying, like
Yeah.
from the '60s and '70s. You know, like the Warren magazines,
Mhm.
eerie, creepy. You know, Vampirella. That was my thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a pretty nice Frazetta piece.
Which
I
one
got
is it? What
it's not a page. It's actually just a drawing that he did. I mean, I can't get any of his paged artwork. That
I've
stuff's
seen most of his
thousands.
stuff, so is it like a little Conan sketch or a
Yeah,
confused
it's a Conan with a woman. The Conan is really detailed. The woman's kind of laid in there and stuff like that. I got it off of eBay probably like 15 years ago for what did I pay? I paid a good penny for it.
I'm
Maybe
sure.
like 15, 17, 1800, something like that.
That's cool.
You
Have a
know,
Frazetta piece? That's really
yeah. I was just like, dude, I want Frazetta, no
yeah.
brainer. It was like a buy it now. I was just like, oh, thank you.
You're gonna have to
And
pay for it later, right?
yeah, it's probably worth a lot more now, you know.
Yeah, I
So,
would think so.
and but my favorite stuff is I have some really nice Jeff Jones pieces.
Oh, do you?
So,
Wow.
yeah, that actually Jeff Jones was like my favorite artist coming up, and I was lucky enough to spend a day painting with him.
Oh,
Back,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
back in '97, I think it was.
Wow.
I was at SCAD at the time,
Mm.
and that's where I went to college. And he came for a day teaching painting, and
Wow.
like you had like you know they have all these comic book artists and then other people's stuff. So his name showed up. I was just like, dude, I was first on the list. I was like, I can't believe I'm like gonna spend time with Jeff Jones. Well, what happened is no one knew who he was. So I spent the entire day with him by myself just painting because no one else signed up for his class. So I got there at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I broke at lunchtime for an hour. And then I came back at like 1 and we painted until like 5 o'clock or something like
Oh
that.
my gosh, that's so cool. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like everyone, I think the big artists at the time that I think Bernie Wrightson was there. People went to his class,
Mhm.
and Scott Hampton, he was there.
Mhm.
So, but I was there with Jeff Jones. I was like, yeah, y'all can have them. It's like I met Bernie Wrightson a few times, so it wasn't no big deal to me for Bernie Wrightson. But Jeff Jones, I was just like, oh my God, I'm spending a day with Jeff Jones. This is the coolest time of my life.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm a huge collector of art. I've probably spent more money on art over the years than I have comics easily. So, yeah.
Well, art is always tricky. I mean, for me, because I can follow trends in comics, and I kind of know what to buy and what to stay away from an investment standpoint.
Yeah.
Original art gets a little bit more tricky because you can buy something you really like, but it may not be something that a lot of other people like. So therefore, you don't really. You have to kind of weigh how much money am I spending on this? Is it a good investment? Not that you're going to
Yeah.
flip it, right? But at
Yeah.
some point in your life, something comes up and you probably have to move something, and you'd like to at least get the money you put into it, especially if it's a lot. And so buying original art would, to me, is always a little bit trickier. But it is nice if you can discover somebody that no one
Yeah.
else has discovered yet, and you can tell, you can say this person's really good, this stuff is going to be, and you can
Well,
get it while it's still affordable. That's the key in
well,
this day and age.
during those times, just like what you're saying right now, probably early 2000s, and then early 2000s, I discovered someone named Jason Sean Alexander. I was like, I saw his work and I was like, dude, this guy's going to be big. I really like his work. His inking style is a lot like what I like. And I was able to buy, I think I got like 20 or 30 pages of his stuff, and I bought it for like 20, $30 a piece. I mean, dirt cheap. And now if you try and buy his stuff, I mean, it's, $1,000 for a page,
Yeah.
easy. So I was able to get some pretty good stuff. I even got some of he did the Marvel Zombies. He did some Spider-Man Marvel Zombies at the
Oh,
time, and I got a few of those pages. I mean, they're just awesome pages. And And then more recently, probably like 2011, 2012, I started noticing this dude, Patrick Reynolds. And I got him to do one of the covers for Skits, Patrick Reynolds.
Oh,
But
cool.
I started buying his stuff. He was working for Dark Horse pretty much completely. Like he was doing a lot of the Hellboy and Aliens and stuff like that. And I got a ton of his pages for nothing, like 50, $100 a piece. You know, when he first started, because I was just like, dude, this guy's really good. I want a bunch of his, so I got a bunch of his stuff too. So I think those are some of mine that I'll have for a long time and be able to keep around. But the funny thing is, I had no place to hang up any of this stuff because my wall. I don't know if you see this, but my studio is like angled roof.
Yeah.
So it's like I
Makes it
can't
hard
hang it.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it was funny. Like in the 90s, and original art was
Yes, I got
cheap,
Kent Williams to stuff
you
too.
know,
My
compared
wife.
to what it is today. And it's like there's so many things I wish I'd bought when I had the chance back in the late
Yes.
80s, early 90s.
Uh,
Because now
I,
they're untouchable. You know, it's just
I
too expensive.
I had a chance to buy some McFarlane Spider-Man pages
So
back in like probably 1989 maybe, and they were going for like 200-300 bucks a piece. And I was like, oh my gosh.
that's a lot of money, though. You know, that's the thing. It's like I could have got a Boland Killing Joke page for $800, but you know, $800 in 1989 was a lot of money, especially when I was just, you know,
Yeah.
trying to break in and really didn't have a lot of money. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
people don't realize like back then when you were working like for an hourly wage, I think I was making like 350 an hour or something like that.
yeah, when I was trying to break into comics, I worked at a commercial arts studio in Portland, and I was making $20,000 a year. You know, that was it, and that was
Yeah.
just enough to pay my. I was in a studio apartment, you know, and I had a car, and that was just enough to pay my bills and feed myself and get by. I didn't
Yeah.
have like 5 or 6, you know, grand or even $1,000 I could go and buy Frank Miller's Dark Knight page, you know, which I could
Yeah.
have got as well, a splash page for $1,200 back in
Ah,
89. But $1,200 might as well have been $1,000,000, you know.
I know. Same thing. It's like I was looking at them Todd McFarlane pages. I was like, man, I really want those. I really want those. But 300 bucks when you're 14 and you're making like $3.50 an hour, you know, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. I think if I took all the money that I constantly was buying on with comics back in the mid 70s and had like saved it all up and bought like a rights and original or something from that period of time that would be worth, you know, $50,000 or
Yeah.
$100,000 right now, you know, you go, wow. But, you know, like I said, we don't have the time machine so we can go back and redo it.
No, definitely not. Well, I'm gonna ask you just one more question, and then
Yes.
I'm gonna let you get out of here.
Okay.
Um, being a comic book artist for a good part of your life, how is being a comic book artist on family, raising a family, being married, and stuff like that? Because I know it's a ton of work. So how is it? You know,
It's
tell other people who want to be artists out there.
it's it's difficult, and but it's also okay, there's good and bad with anything, of course, but I think you see a lot of comic book artists that either are not married or don't have kids,
Yeah,
and the reason is because you don't work at an hourly structure. Like if you had a regular job, you work 9 to 5, and you have the weekends off, right?
yeah,
So it's this kind of regular schedule. In comics, you're working around a deadline, right? So that means if I have to work 7 days a week for 3 straight weeks to meet the deadline, that's what I got to do.
yeah,
Now, that's problematic when you're trying to raise kids. However, the flip side to that is you have a flexible schedule. So, what I would always do with spending time with my kids or taking my kids to school or on field trips, you could break up your day and say, okay, well, you know, I guess I'll wait. I used to do a ton of work after everybody went to bed,
yeah,
right? So all the kids are in bed by 8 or 9 o'clock, whatever, and then I'm working from 9 to 1, right? And then going to bed, and you get up with the kids again, and So you can do it because you have the flexibility to do it. It's doable, but it's really, really hard because you're working all the time and then you're parenting all the time. So you have your full day constantly, right?
Yeah.
And but what I found, what worked out with me was I was able to volunteer at my kids' school when they were growing up, so I was always around. I was able to go on all the field trips, right? And the bummer for them was I never had vacation time.
Yeah.
So we would never go camping or go fishing and things like that. But what we ended up doing with our kids was we ended up having spectacular vacations, right? So it'd be like, okay, this year we're all going to fly to Disneyland for 4 days, or I'd take my kids, my son went with me when he was in junior high, got to go to New York with me and went to a New York comic show, but he also got to go downtown New York and experience that, and that doesn't happen to a lot of kids in junior high, and
No, it doesn't. That's
so
awesome.
all of our trips always sort of revolved around a convention appearance, but it they got them to do like big spectacular things like go to Disney World but we didn't get to do all the little fun things like, oh, let's go to the beach today or let's go out fishing for a weekend because I just didn't have the time to do it. But I did have the free time to spend with them at school, and I was always at home, so I was always there for them and always, so that's great that you can spend that time with your kids, but then also you have to kind of, how can I get work done when my kids are around all the time? So there
Yeah.
was always that juggling act, and it's very long hours and long days, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because I have two great kids, and I'm, you sit here when they're now, Shelly and I are pretty much empty nesters. I mean, my daughter's in college, so she still comes home over the summer and during vacation, but she's not here most of the time. And my son, of course, is 28. He's getting married this month, and so we're essentially empty nesters. And I sit here and go, yeah, maybe we should have had a third kid, so we still have one running around. But it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of reward too.
So, are you going to continue doing these books? Are you going to keep doing Indiegogo campaigns? Is that your future right now?
Yeah, it's at least my short-term future because unless I come across a $1 million NFT opportunity or something where I can retire, right? But no, this was the perfect opportunity for me because being in the comic industry, mainstream comic industry for roughly 30 years, there's very little that I haven't, like I said, I haven't drawn. I'm not pining away to saying, oh my gosh, if only I could have drawn Hulk that one time, or if only I got to draw Spider-Man once. I did get to draw those characters once, and sometimes
Yeah.
more. And you start to realize that at some point, they're not going to want you anymore. And it's not necessarily going to be because your skills have eroded. It's going to be because that's funny. But it's because there's new blood coming in the industry. There's young editors, and you've just sort of, you become kind of an afterthought. And then you start to realize, okay, I've been kicked to the curb. I have no, you don't really have a lot of savings or anything because you don't make great money in comics. A few people do, but most people don't. You make a
Yeah.
living wage and you get by. And I've always wanted to do my own stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm still capable of doing top-notch work. And if you're going to do your own stuff, I'm like, I'm running out of time to do it. Right. So it's like, I better do it now. So it all sort of worked out, where I was kind of fading out of mainstream comics, but still capable of doing really good work. So now I can do my own thing. Because a lot of times we won't make those bold decisions, right? It's like, oh, I'm not going to walk away from Marvel and DC, and take a chance on this. But then when it gets to a point where you're like, I don't really have much choice, I guess I better do this and hope it works. And then it works out. So, I'm excited about it because, like I said, I'm finally getting to do my own stuff. I started doing my own comics when I was 11 years old with my own characters. That's how I started. And so now I kind of come full circle and get to do that to kind of, I guess, to finish out my career, if you will, doing my own stuff and getting my own properties out there and having control over everything so that you don't have to say, well, yeah, it looked good until this guy got a hold of it. Or, you know, I had this great script, but the editorial came in and said, no, we have to cross over with so-and-so, so you have to change this. You don't have to deal with any of that. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, you are everything, so you do what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, great, man. I want to just say thanks to everyone in the chat for showing up. Let me just call out a few more names here. John, Verse Films, Mandible Smasher, Devil Flyer, Black Star. Let me go back here. Southbound, I appreciate you. Rick Sailor, I saw you in there. I put you up a few times. Thanks, Rick. You're always stopping by. Shadowhawk. Oh yeah, Shadowhawk, you're the best. Yeah, Shadowhawk's fantastic. Always stopping by. Who else? Envu, of course. We had her. We thank you, Exevius. Thank you, Exevius. I got to get you on here sometime soon, Exevius. I'll have you on soon. I'll contact you. I think that's everyone. Shadowhawk. Yep. All right. Yeah. I think that. Thank you so much, chat. I really do appreciate you for being there. I mean, if people don't show up and listen to this, there's really no point in doing it. So
that's right.
You know, thanks for being a part of it and for submitting some really good questions. We had some good questions from y'all today. So thank you so much. And thank you, wife. My wife's been in the chat, Blackstar13. She's been doing all that stuff. Yep. Make sure to like, subscribe, share. And you met my wife while you were here in Tennessee.
She is a ball of energy.
Yeah, she can talk to me.
You guys must wear each other out.
She wears me out for sure. I mean, I'm actually quite quiet, to be perfectly honest. The only time you've experienced me is right here and at the signing when you have to be, you know. But I'm actually a pretty quiet person. It's hard for me to do this sort of thing. So yeah, it's so yeah, like, subscribe, share. I appreciate, you know, everything. But what do we got? Oh yeah, let me just play skits right here. Oh. Let me do this right quick. I'm gonna play us out. This is always the thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up and do this. What do we got?
I tell you, it's putting these shows together is always difficult.
Oh, I know it's so tough. All right, we're gonna play this out. Hey, go sign up for the next Skits book. Again, this is a prequel. This is something that I did like 12 years ago, and we're actually putting it out, and people are actually going to be able to see it now. It's 87 pages, might be a few more. Yeah, I know, it's a ton of stuff. It's just lots and lots of cool stuff in there. So go sign up for that. You get a $5 discount when you sign up. So thank you very much. And y'all have one more thing. Go check out my wife's channel over on Indiegogo, on YouTube. Go check her out. Verse Films production. She's doing horror stuff. I mean, you should talk to my wife. She's a horror fan, and you like horror stuff. So like, go check out her channel. She needs some subscribers. She just started it, but she's got like 50 or 60 videos up already. So there's like tons of content. So go check out all that. She's doing a really great job right now. So
and tell her yes, I'll go on her show.
All right. There you go, baby. You got Aaron. He'll come on. Well, thanks a lot, Aaron. I appreciate you for being. Hey, quick, where can people find you? Tell them your socials.
Yeah, well, if you can spell my name, you can find me. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all under Aaron Lopresti. So pretty easy to find. My YouTube channel is under Aaron Lopresti. Shelly and I, my wife, do a show every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then occasionally I pop up doing what I call last second live streams. If I'm sketching or working on a piece of art and I just want to share it while I'm working on it, those will pop up occasionally as well. And of course, the Wraith of God campaign is in demand on Indiegogo right now. So that's where you can find me if you would, or support me if you'd like to.
Fantastic. And I have a few of those actually listed in the description down below if you just want to go down there and click on. I think I got your Twitter, your Indiegogo campaign. I think that might be it. So we'll have to add a few more of those in there for people. But go ahead and go check him out. I'm going to play this. We got the Skits Origin coming up soon. And thanks a lot, everybody, for being here.
Thank you.